colleges to the pros, X Games to Olympic Games, and joint rolling contests to bongathons. It's time for the Thrasher Sports Wire with your hosts, Herb Thrasher and Radical Russ. Now here's Herb Thrasher.
Yeah, hey everyone, how's it going tonight? Yeah, big Tuesday night. Herb Thrasher here with Radical Russ.
Hey everybody.
That's right, and Roller J, Rip City, Roller J Studios here in Portland, Oregon. And man, everything's always going on in the marijuana world. I mean, big stories. It's always nice to talk a little sports, Russ.
Yeah, looking forward to it. The Olympics are in full swing right now. We got some UFC and NBA to talk about. Good stuff.
Oh man, you know, the NBA had a big game this weekend. They always, it seems to, you know, the NBA and the baseball game, you can always kind of watch maybe the All-Star game, get into football. You have a little bit, although this year we discussed that and we kind of liked what they did. But, you know, the NBA, they always have a good All-Star game, and this year was no different. High-scoring game, lots going on, and the final score was 163 to 155. A lot of three-pointers, you know, all the names.
I always think one difference, though, between the NBA All-Star Game and then comparing it to, like, the NFL or Major League Baseball or the National Hockey League is defense is harder in basketball for a bunch of guys that are just thrown together. Like, in football, maybe it's also hard. Baseball, it doesn't seem to make much difference. You know, if they're a bunch of all-stars, guys are still catching the ball and turning double plays. But, you know, when you got 163 to 155, there's not a whole lot of defense.
They don't care. They don't play defense.
Yeah, there's not a lot of defense.
They look at each other, and when somebody gets two steps, they're going to just duck out of the way, man, and let the dude drive. And, you know, part of it's TV. You know, they want to get some highlights. This is a good time for the fans to see some great dunks. And so they always talk about that. And, you know, All-Star Game that weekend also has a lot of events going on as the slam dunk contest. And that was won by Tim Wall from Washington, I think.
Yeah.
And then Bellini won the three-point contest. So a lot of NBA. We can come back and talk about the All-Star Game. Olympics going on right now. USA doing pretty well. Yeah,
doing well. We've got some surprises to talk about. We're going to talk about two ice rink sports, hockey and curling. One of them, USA's kicking ass in. The other, not so much.
No, not so much. So look forward to that. I know that was a big game this weekend when the USA and Russia ended up playing, and they ended up going to like a third overtime and doing shots, and so big-time stuff. I mean, hockey, you know, in the Olympics is like, you know, because the countries, you know, Canada and, you know, all these countries, and USA is finally up there. They're not used to the USA being up in those rounds, and so it's real nice to see.
There's also a human interest media story with respect to alpine skiing with Bodie Miller and some controversy about NBC News and the way they covered that, so we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, and UFC, I know you guys will be the first to bring the UFC sport to this show tonight, but Russ, there's a story brewing out of there about marijuana, actually.
Yeah, there have been a lot of marijuana and UFC sports stories just because they get tested for it, and there's been a few outspoken fighters like Toby Greer and Nick Diaz who use medical marijuana in the state of California, and of course can't because they're fighters, so there's a lot of controversy about that. One of the most popular fighters in the sport has spoken out about it, and we'll bring you that in the Sports Wire tonight as well.
All right. So look forward to talking about all that. You guys kick back and check it out. Get your thoughts ready, and we're going to come back and talk some more sports. All right, 420radio.org. Stay with us, folks.
Cannabis Outreach Collective is an alternative health and wellness option located in Gladstone, Oregon, that serves patients in the Portland area and beyond. We are a full-service alternative health and wellness collective accommodating patients with natural, organic, holistic, and homeopathic remedies, nutritional guidance, advice, education, and medical cannabis, fully in accordance with Oregon OMMP law. You can find out more about Cannabis Outreach Collective on Facebook at COC503 or by emailing cannabisoutreachcollective503@gmail.com or by telephone at 503-853-1319. Check out our menu on Weed Maps and visit Cannabis Outreach Collective today. 420 Radio, the world's voice of marijuana legalization. When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The Law Office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activist to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney.
Can't come back with much better than Slayer.
Just gotta love it. I mean, it just gets you fired up, ready for a game. You know, back in my old high school days, man, this is what Metallica and Slayer, I'd be walking around, I had my headphones on, and this is the stuff I was listening to pump me up for the games. And I'm sure a lot of these other, I know a dude for the Saints, Kyle Turley.
Yes.
He was always a big metal fan, and I think he's even got a band now. He's retired and all that good stuff. But Herb Thrasher here with Radical Russ. Welcome back to the Thrasher Sports Wire right here on 420 Radio, where we talk about sports and a little bit of weed and a lot of more sports. And what's been going on this weekend was the All-Star Game, the NBA All-Star Game in New Orleans. And, man, what a game. Russ, we talked about it all year. We've been talking about how the West has been dominating. The West has had all these winning teams with records, and how we've kind of somewhat laughed and jokingly, in a fun way about the East. They couldn't even, no winning record teams over there. Are these teams even going to be able to compete? Well, the East and the West match up this weekend. Who do you think wins?
Yeah, the East, and LeBron James had a lot to do with it, dishing some pretty good assists to the young man who got the MVP award.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving just went off. He ended up just having 31 points, major three-pointers. He was driving. He took charge of the whole game, basically. By the time he was, it was just amazing to see. And I think the other players actually said, "Okay, Kyrie, if this is what you're going to do, we're going to let you do it."
Yeah.
And that's part of what Russ was talking about earlier about no defense. It's like when a player's on like that, they're kind of going to feed him and let him go. And he ended up taking it. And so the East ended up scoring big-time points all the way to 163 over 155. And Kevin Durant on the West side, there's good players on the other game. Howard had 11. Paul had 13, but it just wasn't enough. The East was come to play on fire.
Yeah, it was a good game, and a lot of great plays to see in the highlights there for sure.
Well, the East basically won in the field goal percentage, 60 to 51%, and the three-pointers, 31% to 28%, and then free throws, 100% to 75%. So, it's like in every category they won, and the West has actually won the last 3 years, and so it was kind of nice for the East. I saw a quote where LeBron James was, we really wanted this game. They've been beating us the past few years, and it was real important for the East to get back on top. So I like to see that though. I like if they're going to play these games, at least go out there and play and make it the best you can be. Don't be out there whining or dang, I wish I could sit on the couch for 4 days. And, I know it's not a vacation, but it's paid for, so have a good game. And it sounds like these guys did. So shout out to the East for having a great game and beating the West 163 to 155.
Yeah. And checking out the standings in the NBA, too, we've got the Eastern Conference starting to sport 4 teams with winning records now. Chicago Bulls, Toronto, Miami, and Indiana still leading. Although Indiana is now 41-12, Oklahoma City's 43-12, so they're now the best team in the NBA in the Western Conference, now 43-12. And the Portland Trailblazers have slipped down to the 5th position. They've been on kind of a losing streak. In the last 10 games, they're 4-6. They've lost their last 2, including their last game to the Clippers. And as if that wasn't bad enough, LaMarcus Aldridge, the all-star forward, will be out at least a week with a groin strain. They're playing against San Antonio tomorrow, and Tim Duncan, of course, and then Kevin Love and Minnesota on Sunday. So things not looking good for the Portland Trailblazers in the month of February.
Wow, did not know that. Yeah, Portland ended up losing a little bit of steam there towards the end of the first half of the season. Wasn't really injury bound. They've been quite healthy and been playing as a team. I think some other teams finally figured them out a little bit, and then they got tired. And so hopefully this break is be a good thing for Portland to get back on track. They're in great position. No reason to panic or just start to feel pressure. You're in a great position right now. You got the whole second half of the season. It seems like Terry Stotts, the head coach there, has a good grip on the team. He's real noteworthy for his second half adjustments. So, look forward to them maybe, seeing what's going on. There, on the other hand, though, you must be, as a Portland Trailblazer fan, it must be great for you seeing the Los Angeles Lakers at the very bottom.
Well, I don't wish ill will upon anybody, but yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Well,
It's not so bad.
The NBA, man, the Lakers dominated for so long, and they're just many growing pains. And Dr. Jerry Buss, rest in peace, bro, man. But when we kind of lost, him, man,
yeah,
it was huge. He was like the face. He was like the everything for that franchise, and it's all frizzle-frazzled out of the way. And looking back on it, damn it, kept Phil Jackson with it might not have been.
I agree. That was, I think, losing Phil Jackson. But, how long could Phil Jackson have kept going at that pace that he was going? I mean,
it's true, and he's used to having all these stars, and there's just no stars on the Lakers right now, so I don't know, but I look forward to a great second half of the NBA season, and let's see how this goes.
All right. I have a basketball story involving the Philadelphia 76ers, but it's really more of a human interest story. It turns out there's a young man, 18-year-old, named Kevin Groh, and he was born with Down syndrome. And so he has been on his high school team as a manager mostly. But they actually put him in a game on a Saturday, and his first game was on a Friday, actually. He got a layup and a free throw, so he had 3 points, right? But then he went and did this. So I'm gonna switch over here so you can see this amazing play. This kid.
I'm loving where this story's going.
Yeah, so let me see if I can get some video going over here. I didn't really prepare for this as well as I should have, but we'll just focus on this and stop the cart here.
If he scored 3 points, I bet he scored more than Charles Barkley did in his very first NBA game.
So here's some highlights of the young man. Here's Kevin. He's got the glasses, number 33. Okay. All right, so he misses his layup. All right, give him another shot. All right, so he got his layup. Now again, they're playing all-star defense, but come on. Right. All right, so here's where the kid gets on fire. Pop it. For 3. Oh. Kid, it's a 3 from the top. All right, you hit it once. Let's hit it again. Bam! There's
string music.
2 for 2 on 3-pointers.
This boy, he's not going to do it again.
Oh, yeah. There's
Come
3.
on.
Nothing but net.
This dude's out of control. Somebody sign him right now.
Hold on. There's 4.
Them boys don't even know what to think.
He's unconscious. He's en fuego.
Like,
boom shakalaka.
It's like, Coach, this wasn't part of the deal. I mean, we said we'd let him play, but, I mean...
You didn't say you could launch 12 points and 3-pointers, man.
You didn't say you can whip our butts, so everyone can see it.
So that's the story, right? That's the kid. So that's where it starts, right? Well, this got the attention of the Philadelphia 76ers. And in this story, it turns out now that they've signed him to a 2-day contract to the 76ers. Let me find the rest of the story here. Shut that down. So it made it the Sixers president and general manager Sam Hinkie, who signed Groh to a 2-day contract. Kevin arrived at the team's training facility Monday night for his first practice as a member of the Sixers. He received a practice jersey, ate a pre-practice meal with his new teammates, and then took to the court to go through drills with the coaching staff. When the Sixers host the Cavaliers Tuesday night, Groh will have his own customized uniform waiting for him in the team's locker room. He and his family will head out to the floor to watch pregame warm-ups from the team's bench, take part in the high-five tunnel during introductions, and stand alongside his teammates during the national anthem.
Big time stuff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and that's the kind of stories. We need a lot more sports stories like that. But, I have been seeing some stories like that around, where, the girl hit the ball and she fell down and broke her leg, and they picked her up and they ran her around the bases so she would score. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, you're hearing these stories more and more often, and that right there out of the Philadelphia 76er camp is a special story. So any 76er fans out there listening to 420 Radio right now, shout out to you.
Hooah.
All right.
Now, for transition's sake, we were talking about basketball, talking about NBA basketball. Mm-hmm. And there's an interesting article on Huffington Post that asks, should basketball be a Winter Olympic sport? And it points out the whole reason basketball was invented was that during the winters in Massachusetts, they had to have something to keep the gym class going. And in 1891, they invented, basketball.
What about outdoor with skates? Basketball.
Outdoor skating basketball. That
Seriously, dude.
But, NBA plays during the winter, right?
Yeah.
College basketball's during the winter.
But that would be, where would our players come from? I mean, it was like...
That's part of what they asked about this. Would the NBA be cool with it?
Get the retirees like Barkley and them come back, maybe.
The first hiccup, though, is that the bylaws of the Olympic Committee say only those sports which are practiced on snow or ice are considered as winter sports.
Huh.
So you don't play basketball on ice, so it wouldn't be a winter sport, supposedly.
Under my game, it would.
Yeah.
Ice.
But think about this, right? Remember a few shows ago when we were talking about Olympics and we were talking about Olympic baseball, and then we're like, wait, there hasn't been baseball in the Olympics since 2008? Well, part of the problem is because the Summer Olympics have so many sports in them, they don't want to cram any more sports. In fact, they were going to get rid of wrestling until enough people complained about it that they kept wrestling. So take basketball out of the summer, put it in the winter, and then put baseball back in the summer.
That could be. I can see that. For me, though, I still don't see where our players are going to come from, because if I'm any kind of coach, there's just no way any of my players are going to call timeout in the season to go play the Olympics. They're just not going to do it. We got March Madness coming up in weeks. So the college players, they're in school, and the NBA players. So I don't know how that would work. I know on a side story this is it. But, bowling's trying to get in the Olympics, too. And I was trying to think, when you were saying that, well, how can maybe they can be a winter, I don't know. I don't know how that's not on ice, or, maybe they bowl on ice. I don't know.
But one of his points is once you get basketball in, you might be able to get other indoor court sports like squash or bowling.
Yeah, see?
Because now you've set a precedent that as long as it's an indoor... We're doing it indoors because it's wintertime thing. I don't know.
No, I can see that, but I ask you real quick, where would the players come from? What's he saying?
Here's what he says in this article. He says, well, first of all, the NHL takes a break every 4 years. When Olympics come, the NHL actually breaks their season. There are no games in the NHL.
I guess the NHL players are playing in the Olympics.
Exactly. There's no NHL games going on right now. As far as I know. Call me on it if I'm wrong. But we're not ready yet.
Yeah, just hold on. Let's finish this point. This is a good one.
Lee Rumader got off on us. But so the NHL takes a break every 4 years. You could do that with the NBA. But here's what he says. Olympic basketball teams play between 5 and 8 40-minute games. But top-tier NBA talents often find themselves in blowouts. and no American averaged more than 26 minutes per game in London. So the last Olympics, no pro player had more than 26 minutes. So it's not like a huge issue. And then many players might be happier adding games in the middle of the season when they're already in shape, rather than trying to maintain their shape through an entire summer. There's that possible. Then it says players like Manu Ginobili, Paul Gasol, and Russell Westbrook might even stay healthier during the NBA season if they didn't attempt to slog through the 20-month marathon that comes when there's an Olympic summer between two deep playoff runs in a basketball season. Right, so those guys played like 20 months in a row because they were on these playoff teams that played into May, and so I see at that point.
Can too. I'm starting to see some light here.
Yeah, and it says also it might lead in people that aren't NBA watchers, watch an Olympics game, see a particular player like that kid that just won the MVP, say, hey, I want to see more of them, and then after the Olympics over, they're now watching an NBA game that's on.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that there's a certain market that watches the Summer Olympics, and there's a certain market that watches the Winter Olympics, and that's it. And that would open it up. That would bring so much of a new audience flavor to the Olympics. I have to think about that. It doesn't sound bad.
Yeah, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, worth a shot. Worth thinking about.
All right, so let's take the break now, and we'll break it with Slayer, because why not? You're listening to Thrasher Sports Wire. I'm Radical Russ. And he's Herb Thrasher.
As marijuana goes mainstream, you need to be armed with the facts. Nobody can teach you better than Dr. Mitch Earlywine, PhD. You may know Dr. Mitch from his column in High Times magazine or his weekly appearance on The Russ Belville Show. Dr. Mitch is also the author of some of the best books on marijuana science, culture, history, and health, including Understanding Marijuana, Parents' Guide to Marijuana, Pot Politics, and more. Visit Amazon.com and search for Mitch Earlywine, that's EARLEYWINE, and order your books today. You can also contact Dr. Mitch by email at 420research@gmail.com.
Weed Porn Daily, starring Oscar Diaz from Florida, Tuesdays at 11 a.m.
Welcome back to Thrasher Sports Wire. Here's Herb Thrasher.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for supporting everything we do here at 420 Radio and all our Olympics. Hopefully you guys have been supporting the USA Olympics in whatever country you guys are supporting. Lots going on, man. We've got hockey, we've got curling, we've got skiing. They finally broken out the bobsleds. I mean, the luge. I mean, all this stuff is finally getting exciting. And Russ, the hockey, man. These guys, I was looking at the power rankings right now. On top right now, United States.
Yeah, looking through both the men's hockey and the women's hockey. I was just checking out all their different results, and apparently the men's hockey, we've got ourselves into the quarterfinals playing against the Czech Republic. The other 6 teams that are still alive: Canada versus Latvia, Finland versus Russia, Sweden versus Slovenia. Now, I'm watching that Finland-Russia game because we had that earlier United States versus Russia where we came out on top 3-2. In fact, the United States, in all their matches, we beat Slovakia 7-1. We beat Russia 3-2. We beat Slovenia 5-1. And that's what's put us into the quarterfinals. We didn't even have to go into there was like a playoff qualification round. We skipped right over that because we were 3-0.
Yeah, 4 teams get these buys that we're talking about right now, and it's like the first round is basically called group play, and it's more like a tournament. And now they're saying now the real tournament starts. 4 teams burn buys into the quarterfinals, while the remaining 8 teams play these 4 elimination games, starting on Tuesday for the knockout phase. So it's really starting to get down to the fists and to really see what's going on. Definitely an unbelievable win for the USA over Russia and Slovakia here to get us into this round to where we're in a bye situation, because to have a bye, to be able to kick back, and like you're saying, to watch that Russia-Finland game is going to be huge. And Canada's sitting right there looking, like they've been doing really well. And so to see how this plays out as far as the power rankings go right now, you would think all these teams we've mentioned haven't mentioned really Sweden yet, and Sweden is actually number 2, Canada 3. And so looking at some of these teams, we just don't know where it's going to go right now, which is exciting. Speaking of if the NBA was in there, you almost need this hockey in because it's so much skiing and so much of the slopes and the alpines, and it's great to have hockey, to have this team sports. There's not a lot of team sports in winter.
And they'll have the team ice dancing or whatever, right? But that's a bunch of individuals, right? There's no team effort sports, like curling or hockey.
Well, that's what I was about to say. The only other one I can think about is curling, which is the next sport we're going to talk about. And I'm sure we'll jump back to hockey here in a second. But, Russ, you got a big update on the curling, man. We talked about this last week. Was hopeful for the U.S. to at least, we knew we weren't going to win. It's those situations where you're not going to win, but if you could, get some moral victories every now and then, you might can set yourself up for the future. Any hope of that?
Not much. Well, looking through the results in women's curling, in all the matches played, I don't see a win.
Yeah.
I don't see that the women's team won a single match. In men's, I see 2 wins. We had a 9-5 win over Denmark in the round-robin session 4. and we had a 8-5 win over Germany in the session 7. But the rest all losses, and it's not exactly a sport that a lot of Americans know, but it would seem to be one that we should. It's like curling seems to be the kind of thing that there ought to be some drunk Minnesotans or Wisconsinites doing sometime up there.
It does feel like that.
It's like bowling.
I mean,
on
they
ice.
love skating. They can just, I mean, it's like, so it's like, it's right. It's on ice, and they love being on ice anyways, and so I can totally see that too. But I don't know. I think it's one of those sports too, where if you're in your living room and if you was, you're not watching the Olympics, and if you were flipping through the channel and you saw that, it makes you stop. Like, you'll stop and watch. What is this sport, man? What are they doing, man? And then you're waiting on the next thing so you can try to figure out what they're doing. I did notice this weekend, as I watched a little bit of it, and I would see the 7 end. And it was like, I knew what an end was, man. I knew what was going on. I was like, honey, they're in the 7th inning there. It's like the 7th inning.
It's the 7th inning.
They have 10 ends, and
Well, it's bowling and it's shuffleboard.
Well, let's see. I brought up bowling a while ago. I mean, they could be bowling on the other side of the forum there. I mean, they almost have the same distance as far as what they let that thing go, and over there, let's have some bowling. I'm ready to get bowling in the Winter Olympics now. You got me fired up.
Ice bowling. So what we've got for the women's semifinals in curling is Great Britain versus Canada and Sweden versus Switzerland. And in the men's semifinals, we've got Great Britain versus Sweden and Canada versus China. So both men's and women's, 3 out of the 4 teams are Great Britain, Sweden, and Canada.
Well, I'm putting all my weed on Sweden.
Yeah?
All my weed goes on Sweden.
The Whedon's on Sweden?
Yeah, the Whedon's on Sweden. I mean, I'm pretty sure Sweden's probably dominated. I would be shocked if it wasn't like somewhere like that winning these things here.
That makes you wonder. It's like, how does Great Britain and how did Great Britain? I can see Canada being a curling powerhouse.
Well,
how does Great Britain become a curling powerhouse?
I can see it. What was that sport? What's that little with
cricket?
Cricket and stuff. They got. Can't you see Piers
Morgan playing cricket?
You know what I mean? These dudes, I can see him playing cricket, man. It's a lazy sport. The Britons like lazy sports. Don't take it for what I'm saying right there.
Herb Thrasher at gmail.com.
It's like lazy sports, though, man.
I agree. Those are my kind of sports. I like bowling.
Yeah, it's fair. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And that's why I can see the Britons in curling. Really, I'm curious on who's actually dominating the sport forever and ever. I'm going to look it up.
Okay. So back to hockey for a second. In men's, we already mentioned in the men's quarterfinals, it's USA, Czechoslovakia, Canada, Latvia, Finland, Russia, Sweden, Slovakia. Women's are already set for the bronze medal and the gold medal game. The bronze medal game in women's hockey will be Switzerland versus Sweden, and the gold medal game, Canada, USA.
Oh.
Now, looking back over the records, I think the women, Canada, USA, have already played. Canada with a 3-2 victory over the U.S. women. I think that's the U.S. women's only loss, looking through the records here. Yes, so the U.S. women have a chance to avenge their only loss in this Olympics, a 3-2 loss to Canada, in the gold medal game, and that's scheduled for Thursday. So there is your hockey update as far as the Olympics go.
Well, I'm looking forward to really seeing how this plays out. I mean, the women have actually, I think, won the hockey gold medal before, too, and so the women in Canada have such a fierce rivalry going right now that I wouldn't be surprised to see those two teams match up again.
Yeah. So we are still alive for the United States to take both gold medals in women's and men's ice hockey. That would be something. Yeah, really especially if the gold medal game in men's ends up being Russia, United States, in Russia, with Russia trying to avenge their loss to the United States, their 3-2 loss. I mean, there'd be a lot of storylines there.
Mm-hmm. It really would. Be exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll definitely be watching the Olympics. Well, we got another couple weeks now.
1 more week, I believe.
1 more week.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, we got all the bobsled and luge events coming.
I saw Aaron something. She was the first woman to win a medal in the luge in over 20 years or something. So it was really cool to see her win that. So I like watching, dude. Those dudes going head first down 80 miles an hour through that little tunnel type thing on a little bit of sled.
Yep.
Crazy stuff, man. I mean, their face is that far from the ice.
Yeah. That's nuts.
It's nuts, man. They got just a piece of glass little shield separating them from 80 miles of force head first.
Nuts.
There you go.
Crazy. Hey, the medal count, by the way, the United States and the Netherlands are both tied with 20 medals. The U.S.'s last gold medal, David Wise in freestyle skiing. But Germany leads the total number of gold medals with 8, followed by Norway with 7, Netherlands and USA at 6, and Russia with 5.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Well, USA, keep going strong. I mean, we've been holding our own, and so hopefully we'll be able to continue on to do that. Yeah, I'm looking at. I finally got something that's giving us something here. And Sweden's about the only country listed, man. Seriously, Sweden. They've been dominating the sport of curling. Knew it would be. I knew there's something about it. But you know, there was also something where it listed that showed going back to 1924.
Yeah.
So curling has definitely been around for a long time.
We got to find ourselves a curling rink. Wouldn't that be fun to do?
I know, dude. Let's set it up.
Of course, you have to have the special shoes. You know, those curling guys, they have each shoe is different. One shoe has grip, and the other shoe is Teflon. It's their sliding shoe.
I bet the Lloyd Center has some kind of curling league or something.
We have a mall here in Portland, Oregon, the Lloyd Center, that has an ice rink in the center of it. And we'll have to find out.
Yeah, it's famous for Tanya Harding used to practice there. And whenever you see the Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding documentary, that's the Lloyd Center that we're talking about. That's in about half of it.
Yep.
And but yeah, I'm pretty sure they have some kind of curling thing. We might look into that and go down there and do some filming it or talk to them, dude. Let's go down there and see what's up.
Maybe we find that Portland has a curling society. They've been practicing there all along.
Do a stoner team. Join their league.
Who knows?
Oh my goodness, this is getting good over here at 420 Radio. All right, Herb Thrasher with Radical Russ, where we're talking Olympics, and we're just talking curling and hockey. And I know the snowboarding we've been doing really well. Sean White mentioned he just didn't do it this year, Russ. He couldn't, manage anything. I think it was a lot of newcomers coming into the snowboarding sport that doing a lot of winning. And shout out to them. So
they just had the men's skiing half pipe. You know, that freestyle skiing that they do, and that's what David Wise won the gold with. So that's, I think, the latest we've got on that.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And what else we got? Come back and talk about UFC.
We got the Bodie Miller story and some UFC coming up for you when we come back.
Be right back.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with our Shoutcast stream for all internet-enabled media players. Go to rad-r.us/420shout or just click the Shoutcast icon below the live radio feed at 420radio.org.
Almost busted in Laredo, but for reasons that I'd rather not disclose.
I smoke pot, and I like it a lot. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer to use than alcohol. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting responsible marijuana smokers in America. And to learn what you can do to help, please contact NORML at www.norml.org or call toll-free at 888-67-NORMAL.
The show was long and we was just sitting there, and we'd come to play and not just for the ride.
Where the devils play and the spirits come out like every day. Where the bodies get burned, it's incredible how the bones get to the urn. Where the devils play and the spirits come out like every day. First European job, stage set for an even darker mirage. I'm in the Swedish land trying to get my work on. Crematorium, my calling, let me put my shirt on. Better yet, my burning suit. The only job this American could land. And put my hand in the ground, pulling up the deceased. At least I'm making money while I'm facing the beast. Ash maker, soul taker, we be the ones to make it peace. Midsummer was the start of these intentions that I mentioned. If I knew what was to come, I might have played dumb. In any case, we got 36 with 6 to get them out. From the freezer to the ground, the emotions do it out. It became apparent that the
You're listening to the Thrasher Sports Wire. That's the Dirt Ball with Mura Shikagarden. A little bit of Swedish there. We were talking about Sweden. Had to bring up some Swedish.
Right. Solid right there. And you can also hear the Dirt Ball with Cottonmouth Kings.
That's right.
Shout out to the Dirt Ball. All right, man, we've been talking hockey, been talking NBA, we've talked bowling, we've talked football, we've talked colleges on here, but Russ, we have never talked UFC and got a story coming out of UFC champ Ronda Rousey. What's going on with her?
All right, well, the setup of this has to do with another female fighter. Now, Ronda Rousey is the UFC bantamweight champ, and she's hot. Let's just put it that way. She's a model, and she's gorgeous and can kick your ass. She's 8-0, all her wins by submission, first-round arm bars in every case. So she's dominating her weight class, she's dominating the sport, and she's a huge draw. She's currently one of the coaches, or was one of the coaches, I don't know if it's still currently, on the Ultimate Fighter show, where they have one coach's team this versus team that. Well, it was the first time in that show's history they had 2 females as the team coaches who hated each other, and Rousey versus Tate, and Rousey ended up beating her in one of these UFCs that was on recently. Anyway, women's fighting is becoming a big draw. It's becoming more legit. And one of these fighters, her name is Jessica I, E-Y-E, like your eyeball, right? Of course, her nickname is Evil. Jessica Evil I.
Love it.
She fought in UFC 166 in Houston, Texas, won her fight, a split decision over Sarah Kaufman. This was her first fight in the UFC, first octagon fight, but she had a previous mixed martial arts record of 10-1. So her record went up to 11-1. So she's no slouch. She's a pro, right? But Texas, they've got their Department of Licensing and Regulation. They changed her victory to a no contest because she had a positive marijuana drug test. And after the positive marijuana drug test, she had to admit to the violation. She had a settlement agreement. She's on probation in Texas for a year. She has to tell Texas all her fights. She has to tell Texas all the results of her drug tests. And she has to pay a fine of $1,875. Now, this probation doesn't interfere with this weekend. Now, this weekend on Saturday is UFC 170. And she's fighting on an undercard with Alexis Davis. What makes UFC 170 so meaningful in this story is that's where Ronda Rousey comes in. Ronda Rousey, the bantamweight champ, is the headline. She's the main event of UFC 170, this pay-per-view. This is the first time, this is like a $50, $55 pay-per-view event, and it's the first time a female fighter has headed this up.
That is amazing.
So she's going in a fight. She's got her UFC 170 pay-per-view. They started asking her, what do you think about this Jessica I thing? Now, to be fair, there's another angle to this story where Jessica I kind of lied about whether or not she got popped for weed. And so some of the angle of the story is, oh, you lied, you tried to cover it up. Who cares, right? In this case, they're asking, what do you think about the marijuana testing? And this is the quote from Ronda Rousey. Honestly, I feel like weed is not a performance-enhancing drug at all. We are tested for it entirely for political reasons, something that has nothing to do with athletic competition. It is beyond their rights to test for marijuana. It's actually an invasion of privacy. End quote. Now, the other angle on this, too, is Texas has a 15 nanogram limit for their testing. Nevada and even the World Anti-Doping Agency recently raised their limit up to 150, 10 times that, 150 nanograms, because they don't want to catch people who just smoke pot on the off weekend or something. They only want to catch people who smoke pot so recently that it's going to affect them in a fight. But not Texas. No, they're going to stick with 15.
Yeah, no, it's an awful story. And yeah, hearing this story, it made me wonder about the president of the league, Dana White, in his stance and how what he feels about it. And he also, in many articles, is mentioned that he knows that it's not performance enhancing. So it's not about that for him. It's illegal. Everything that I've read is coming from him. It's illegal. It's illegal. It's illegal.
Yep.
So before long, I feel like he's going to have to answer something about Colorado and Washington because it's not illegal in those states.
Yeah.
And at least not in Washington yet. It does sound like it's going back there. But anyways, I really loved seeing this story from Rousey and seeing her stance and seeing her speak out as a champion. I mean, how many champions are Super Bowl person? I mean,
yeah. This is the first one I can think of who is currently the superstar of this is like LeBron James coming out and saying this is drug testing for marijuana is an invasion of privacy.
Yes.
That's a LeBron James team. That's an Aaron Rodgers. That's a name a baseball guy. Mariano Rivera, is he retire? I don't know. I don't follow baseball. Right?
Yeah, no.
That's a big deal.
It really is. It's a big deal, and it's big-time stuff. And I don't know, I don't see that getting any better for her either. Texas is, we all know Texas is going to be one of the last states. Even though the governor right now has been toying with some of the residents there with saying some decent quotes. Don't believe a word out of that dude's mouth, folks. I'm just here to tell you right now, Governor Perry, man, it's whatever he's going to do to benefit the GOP party, and that's it.
Now the UFC 170 is being fought in Las Vegas, so they are at that 150 nanogram limit in Las Vegas, so that's good. And there's Ronda Rousey. Damn. Jeez.
I mean, this looks like a great fight. I remember seeing through the 90s there, Julio Cesar Chavez fights and stuff where women were like the undercard, and we would like watch those fights, and then you didn't really give a crap about a few of the next guy fights, and then you wanted to see the headliners because women fights was always great. So I'm not surprised that UFC right now is really has a headlining fight right now.
Yeah, if you check out the UFC.com website, they have amazing statistics and tracking on these fighters. And while the Ronda Rousey fight is going to be in the pay-per-view, if you get cable or you get satellite and you get that Fox Sports 1 channel at 5 p.m. Pacific Saturday, you can watch this woman, Jessica Ai, who we've been talking about, who got popped for the marijuana. She's fighting in the prelims, and that's not pay-per-view. So 5 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be turning that on to watch her fight.
That's Saturday, February 22nd.
Yeah, against Alexis Davis. So, so you can find out more about that. Now, for some people, though, I understand where UFC fighting is kind of hard to watch for them because it is bloody. There will be a lot of blood.
And it breaks some arms.
And sometimes there are joints and legs that are broken. And so if that's shocking to you and kind of gives you queasy, then, it's not the sport for you. I personally don't like watching bull riding. I think bull riding is ridiculous and cruel, but, to each their own. And statistically, you're less likely to get injured in UFC than you are in a lot of other particular endeavors. It's less dangerous than auto racing. It's less dangerous than boxing and so forth.
Yeah, these fighters know what they're doing. They're total pros, and it's about love and a sport for them. And they know when to tap, and they also know when they are breaking an arm.
Yeah.
So they just know these guys. It's just what they do.
What I like about UFC, because I grew up watching boxing in what I would call one of boxing's golden eras, right? Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran and all those guys.
I mean,
in that era, though, it always seemed like the best fighters ended up fighting each other. And when they did fight, they were actual fights.
Yes.
Nowadays, or at least the last I was, really into boxing, why I left it is it became, this guy wouldn't fight this other guy and would delay and deny and eventually fight a bunch of tomato cans. They weren't real fights. And when there was a guy who was really good, they'd just clinch and no real fighting, right? When UFC is not like that, is very rarely like that. You're definitely going to see a fight. And number two, Dana White, in controlling UFC top to bottom, has created a system where the best fighters are fighting each other. It's, are always getting shots at the top. I think that's good for the sporting audience.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's definitely been a growing sport. This sport was underground. It started underground on some underground PBS cable channel, in the country somewhere, and has grown to this regulated sport that it is. And I've kind of always enjoyed it. I was like you though, watching boxing through those years, and then we lost boxing in the late 90s. I would say it kind of started going away. 2000s. I haven't watched it. I don't think I've watched a boxing fight, in so long. I couldn't even remember.
Yeah, really.
But UFC, the men and the women, I definitely see that as the future also. And Dana White, as much as we don't really care for what he's saying, he's a business owner. He's a business. He's grown this league to a massive entity, and shout out to him and UFC. And we'll be looking forward to this fight on Saturday. That's February 22nd, and that is the champ right there.
Yeah, you betcha.
That's right.
One last story coming out of the Olympics, but it's really more a story of the way sports is covered, and it was a controversy that happened with Bodie Miller. He tied for the bronze medal at men's Super G. It was his 6th Olympic medal. He's been a skiing superstar, right? But recently his brother died. He died last year at age 29, and it got brought up when he had just finished. The reporter, he kind of brought it up, and then so she followed on it. But then she kept on it, like 2 or 3 more questions on it, and then NBC, real close shot, get the guy's eyes, get the guy, oh, there's a tear, and then they stayed with him for a long time, and they turned into this big emotional, gut-wrenching scene, and the New York Times and a few other critics kind of didn't take it well. It's like you're emotionally, you're hijacking this moment and playing it up for ratings, and abusing this guy when he's in a stressful situation. His brother died. I mean, what do you think about those kind of things?
Well, I think Bodie didn't take it too well during the interview, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he kind of let it be known after a couple questions. And I've definitely learned a lot of. I wouldn't say I'm a professional or anything, but just doing some interviews through the years now, I've definitely learned a lot. And I feel like you do know there is a line that you have to know, and she has to know this.
Yeah.
She has to know this. There's certain stories that you could ask one question, but...
And I wonder how much of it, though, does she have one of those earpieces with the producer in her ear going, come on, push it, ask him again.
It could be, but the fact is she's right there. She has to be in control of this interview. And, Bodie Miller, man, he's an all-star. He's like one of our all-time greats if you look back at medal counts. And so you have to know people.
Yeah. And one last thing. Poor Bob Costas.
Oh, man. But he is back. He sounds like he's fighting back.
Is he back now?
He is back. He's back. He had some kind of
Bob Costas got the stink eye.
He had some kind of eye trouble. And whatever that means, we're just going to go with eye trouble.
I've had that kind of eye trouble.
And we'll see, what happens. But he is definitely back because he knew if he doesn't make it back, it's only 1 week left. He's not going to get any back. So
That's
he has
right.
to come back.
Gotta make that money, Bob.
That's right. Shout out to Bob Costas. What a trooper.
Well, folks, that's about all the time we got today for the Thrasher Sports Wire. But we're here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, and you're always welcome to call in too if you've got something to say about the sports of the day.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to you guys. So watching live, and then don't forget, it's a podcast. You can always listen to it next day as you download too. But always let us know what's going on here at 420radio.org. All our shows, all our just everything. You guys are great and supporting us. Thank you so much.
All right.
I'm out.
Georgia.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and I need your help. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 20s, and marijuana